How would you like to take a romantic journey listening to a blend of folk, rock, and country music sung by a Venetian vocalist who also loves cooking as well? My guest is Giada Valenti, performing in Myron's at the Smith Center this Wednesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. For ticket information, go to thesmithcenter.com, and for everything about Giada, go to giadavalenti.com, and you can follow her on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And Giada, welcome back to the show.
Such a pleasure to be back with you, Ira.
Thank you. A funny question. I have a funny question for you. What is a Venetian like you doing living and working in Las Vegas?
Enjoying Las Vegas. Come on, Vegas is the capital, entertainment capital of the world. I get this question a lot because they say romantic Venice, and then you got to Las Vegas. But people that are Vegas, they know that Las Vegas is not the strip, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas is nice suburban places, either Summerlin of Anderson of Lake Las Vegas, where the weather is perfect. The streets are quiet. There is almost, now we get a little bit more traffic, but comparing to Los Angeles where I lived before, it's like, so what am I doing here? I'm just enjoying life because I perform only twice a year in Las Vegas. The rest of the year I'm traveling either the United States or Europe, but I like to call Las Vegas home.
It's a base of operations, which is great for you.
Great airport we have.
And I could get away asking that question because I am a Las Vegan. So
Oh, you may be one of the first and only I know because everybody in Las Vegas come from somewhere else.
well, I do come from somewhere, but I've been here long enough where I consider myself a Las Vegan. Let's put it that way. I want to start out before I even get into your new song and all the music you're going to be performing. It's a 90-minute show at the Smith Center, which is great at Myron's, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But who were your mentors growing up? Did you have people that you looked to for specific guidance in terms of your vocal skills, your vocal talent, or was it just you developed on your own?
I said I develop on my own. I always say, but it's not true. I was introduced to music and by my grandmother. My grandmother, she was a soprano, but she had 7 kids, so she had to let go a little bit of the career, even though she never stopped really singing. She couldn't travel, Italy mainly, and she was an operatic singer. So she's the one that discovered when I was a little girl. We performed together in church on the choir, and everybody, of course, they were all adults. I was the only kid of 3 years old, but she noticed that I was singing. So she said to my parents, "Hey, the kid has a perfect pitch." So she was singing to me, all this aria, and I was singing along. So she's the one that said to my parents, "Let's try to see if we can," because it's kept the generation. None of the 7 kids of my grandma were actually musical at all. So grandma was like, wow, finally one. So to school and she was teaching me singing, of course, but she also decided, because she said every singers need to have a little bit of knowledge of music, so she enrolled me to piano classes, and I could write music notes when I was very little, even before I could write the ABC letter. So I started to play classical piano, and so I would say my grandmother. And then my grandmother also, she was very wise, and she told me things that to these days I'm always get complimented by people by many things. But one of the things they say that even though on stage I look like a diva, when I get down, I'm very personable. And many people are surprised about me, this kind of personable. And I said, this is what my grandmother used to say all the time. She used to say that the gift of music and your talent is a gift from God, and you have to be grateful for, but you are nothing better or less than the audience that will come to you. So she said, if you're going to be lucky enough to do what you want to do, which is music, you have to be grateful to any kind of person that comes to your show and admire your talent. Because she used to say, if it wasn't for them coming to you, you would be singing in the shower. And that stayed with me, which is true. I mean, I'm blessed and lucky that I can sing and I can do what I want, but hey, my luck doesn't make me any better than any other person. Actually, makes me one of them. So I think my grandmother, in her simplicity, she's been like my guide through life. I always say, the family are the first teachers. And I think I'm very blessed that I also, my parents and my grandparents and all my family, they were very grounded. They made me like an honest person in love with life and appreciating everything. Sometimes people, they say, oh, you have time to write to everybody, to all your friends, to all your fans. And I'm like, they deserved everything and more, because if it wasn't for them, remember, I would be singing in the shower.
I sing in the shower now, but I'm very, I'm very accessible. So if people want to see me there, I'll talk to them, there's an American phrase, you're down to earth, which is great. So you're up on stage, you're different, but when you're not on stage, you're down to earth.
Yeah, I am. And then my grandfather had the other one, the same theme, something that was more inappropriate to say on any stage or maybe also on a podcast. But when I was going home and I would say, Grandpa, I saw this or that or the other, those famous people, he used to say something. I don't know if you can say, you can cut it out, but Grandpa used to say, he's just one of us, even the Pope, when goes to the bathroom, needs to push. That was insane. I can never say it. I share it with you, Ira, today, but that proved that that's where I'm coming from. We are normal people. So, hey,
Now, of course, if he ate fiber, he wouldn't have to push, but that's another time and another subject. So,
yeah, but you got the picture. So where my family was, actually, I thought my grandfather was, he had a saying for everything. And as a my grandfather is crazy. But now, as an adult myself, I'm like, he was such a smart man.
I think you should put those sayings of your grandfather on your website. I think that would be a great addition.
Hey, and maybe I share it on stage. I mean, I never shared the pushing things, but it's
No.
clean. Whatever the meaning is, into pictures, right?
Right. And I can vouch that you do respond to people, because on Facebook, where we used to do Facebook Live during COVID,
Yes.
called the COVID, it's COVID, but you would respond to people. You respond to people who post on your Facebook page. You're just a very interactive person. And that comes, as you say, from your parents and your grandparents.
I mean, if somebody says something that is something nice, you have to answer. They always say, "How do you find the time?" It's just a second, of
Exactly. Right.
any busy schedule. I'm always say, if you're too busy to appreciate the people that care for you, then you don't deserve them.
Very wise. And also, too, today, there's a lack of handwritten notes, but as a result, it's much easier to write or post a quick response to somebody, as you say, a few seconds. I'd love to write more, but my handwriting is so bad that I won't even get into that. But now, who was it, your parents or your grandparents, that also gave you a love of cooking? Or was it all of them? All of them?
All of them, all of them. My grandmother, let's say, because she was we say in Italian, la matrona di casa. She was the one where everybody was looking for her, what she was doing and trying to be her. And she had this, she loved to teach us to cook. My mother, on the other hand, she was working. She was a full-time woman, so she had less time to cook. But I remember in the weekend, we were all gathering in the kitchen of Grandma, and Grandma was sharing the cooking, and my mother was just like observing. So I was the one actually that when my mom and me, we were together at home, I said, yesterday I've learned to make grits from Grandma. So I was teaching my mother to make something. Actually, my mother knew to cook better than I, but she let me have the feeling, that I was teaching her what Grandma had already told her when she was a little girl. So we always had, and I'm Italian, so food, it's something that is is a priority for us. And I discovered that when I married JJ. JJ, my husband and manager, is Dutch. And when I married him and he came into my family, for me it was normal, We are having breakfast, we talk about what shall we have for lunch, we're having lunch, what are we eating for dinner? And so that was normal. And for me it was just normal. I mean, born and raised like that. We talk about the Christmas dinner or Easter dinner 3 months ahead of time. And he was like, what is with your family? Why? Because your family doesn't do that? It was like, so it's an Italian thing.
Oh, of course. On your first date, did you guys go Dutch treat?
No, actually, he paid for my first.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And that's because, actually he's Dutch, but he was not, he wanted to impress me because in the beginning, we married 9 months after we met and I didn't like him. He bought me for a meal, actually. Because we were in Switzerland. I was a student at the time at the University for Psychology, but in the wintertime, I was going to Switzerland to do 3 months of gigs. So for 3 months with two musicians, I was performing. And one night, JJ worked for televisions, for the Dutch television. He came in with a group of Dutch people. He saw me and he thought, that's the one I want to marry. Me, on the other hand, I was like, no way, no go. I don't even like that guy because he came to talk to me. And I could not speak any other language but Italian and French. And JJ spoke Dutch and English. So I couldn't even communicate with him.
Amazing.
But the food in the hotel where we were staying in Switzerland was very bad, and I love good food. So my musicians, they were two older gentlemen that love JJ. They say, "Why you don't ask the gentleman to buy a nice dinner for you at the fancy fish restaurant you like?" So I said, "Okay." So we went for dinner there. The rest is history because 9 months later we were married.
So do you like him now?
I love him now.
Okay. That's a great story. I haven't heard that one before. I love it. So you mentioned earlier that you only performed twice, and I think it should be more, but you only performed twice in Las Vegas a year, and the rest of the time you're on tour.
Yes.
In this event, I'll call it an event, coming up at Myron's at the Smith Center. It's Wednesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. It's about a 90-minute show. And as I alluded to in the opening, it's a mix of a lot of songs. So tell us a little bit about what you're planning to present and sing.
So I'm very eclectic when it comes to music because they ask me, what kind of music do you like? What kind of music do you do? So as a songwriter, of course, I have my own kind of songs I write about myself. So normally they have this kind of pop and country kind of vein. But when it comes about music I love anything from the 1930 until now, 2023. So, and I love country music. Many people know I love country music. I never done anything with country. I come from rock music, believe it or not, in Italy, because Pat Benatar's and all the kind of music was the music I loved to listen when I was a little girl. So I decided to tackle all this music together. And there is gonna be. I'm always say it's the singer and the stories that can create a show. So I always sing these songs that if people comes that they all know. But there are many stories that are either related to me, why I'm singing sort of song, or there are also some famous songs. I mean, when I mean famous songs that everybody thinks that they are American or British songs that actually are Italian songs.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, when I did my PBS special from Venice with Love, I was singing a song At Last that everybody knows, written by Harry Warren, but not many people knows that Harry Warren was Salvatore Guaragna. It's Italian. This at the Myron this time I do the pop soft rock, I think, I Who Have Nothing from Tom Jones. That song is an Italian song, Uno dei Tanti, was written and performed by Italians, and then later was and so there is always a lot of surprise, and people always come to my show for the music, but they love the stories behind the songs, and some of them are related to me. I sing, not in this show, in the PBS, I was doing the song You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, which everybody knows as the version of Dusty Springfield, but actually the song is Io che non vivo senza te, written by a Venetian composer who is a dear friend of mine that still lives in Venice. So, and some people come to my story, and every time, there are some comedian in New York that they make fun of me. Joe Piscopo is a comedian, dear friend of mine.
Yes, he's been on the show in the past. Yeah.
Oh, you think so? Joe. Joe makes fun to me. He said, "Do you wanna discover if something is Italian? You give it to Giada. She will make so many research that she will find the 1% Italian, and she will say this is Italian." Because I sing La Vie en Rose normally, is my favorite songs to perform normally, not on this show. And Edith Piaf, not many people knows, her mother was Italian.
And you're absolutely right. Everybody thinks it's French, and it is French, but her mother was Italian. So yeah.
I'm always so I make anything Italian. I can make you Ira Italian.
Volare, okay. So wait a minute, I'm going to get back to the country music. Is it old country or new country that you?
No, it's old and new. I mean, I do some old country like Crazy, Willie Nelson.
Nice, okay.
My Mind, but I also do Girl Crash of Little Big Town, that is just a recent song, and it's the same thing also for rock music. Of course, I do songs of The Doors, I do songs of I do Stairway to Heaven, but there is also Pink, because he's one of the rock girl from the, so it is a little bit of everything. And so it's also for folk music. I really do love. One of my recent single was "Time in a Bottle," talking about that kind of music. Jim
Okay.
Croce, right?
You just have a song, a record out now with that.
I have a
Available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and
everywhere
YouTube.
they can find
Right.
it. Because the sound, I decided to do "Time in a Bottle" of Jim Croce because this year is in September, September 23rd, I think, is 50 years ago that he died, Jim Croce, when he was only 30, so it would have been
Amazing.
80.
Right.
And that song was written exactly 50 years ago. So, and I think still think it's a spectacular song. So that song is also the show, but there's also some song of Bob Dylan, of course, Knocking on Heaven's Door. There are some songs of the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, something. So, and I always make fun because while I was preparing for the show, I'm a songwriter, so I really pay attention to the lyrics because singing is storytelling after all. And when I was preparing for the show, I said to JJ, what were people smoking in the 70s? Because all the songs is about your Stairway to Heaven and Flowers. Johnny Mitchell, right? I'm doing the song, what is it, a Big Yellow Taxi. I mean, they paved paradise and they built a parking lot. They were protesting. The 70s must have been a fantastic time. I mean, they were either smoked and protested about something or writing song about who knows what. So it would have been perfect era for me.
So when you sing country music, do you change into costume or put on boots, cowboy boots?
No, actually, I'm famous for my outfits. I'm always wear those beautiful evening gowns. I
Right. That's
think
why I'm trying to get that picture in my mind of you singing country music like crazy, and yet you're not necessarily dressed up as a cowgirl.
no, but I'm Italian, so I mean, even though I would love to be I would love to be Dolly Parton. I tell you, I would love whole outfit of Dolly. I love Dolly. No, I will have probably because it's being made this right now. I'm gonna be wearing like a pantsuit, so with some fringes. So it's gonna be
Nice.
a little bit, but with glitters because I'm Italian. I
Yeah.
like to be elegant, but probably not an evening gown unless I decide to change at some point during the concert. And I'm also gonna have a guest. Coming all the way from San Francisco is a dear friend of mine, Anna Maria, and she's an harp player. She's an harpist, so we're gonna be doing some songs together. So it's gonna be a nice night and a lot of laugh. You know me, Ira, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. And the fact that, again, people think of you not necessarily as a singer of so many different genres. And that's why it's good that you're doing a mix so they can see those different elements.
It is that so last year, actually exactly a year ago yesterday, I wanted to bring my music back to the Netherlands. So somebody said the only way to do it is to go back on one of those television shows. So they had in the Netherlands Holland Got Talent, which is the same American Got Talent. So, and I speak Dutch is my second language. So I did it last year, exactly a year ago, and it got me a record deal. So I went back to my original path. That was the one of songwriting. So I've been writing a lot of songs, and I release every 6 months, starting actually a few weeks from now. I'm gonna release the first original song. I can already tell you the title is For the First Time. It's a beautiful song about when you say I love you, knowing that it's gonna be and I love you forever.
Mhm.
And so I'm writing a lot of original, and this concert for the first time at the Smith Center also gonna be performing a lot of my original songs.
Boy, it
So
is a mix, isn't it? Combination of everything. When you were back in the Netherlands, did JJ buy you dinner again?
he buys me dinner even in Las Vegas, wherever we are, he buys me dinner. Hey, when you married an Italian, dinners is like the
Yeah,
first
exactly.
I told you, called me for a dinner. I wanted to have fish, and he said, I take you to a fish restaurant. And 9 months later, I was married. I said, this is the keeper.
Absolutely. I was just thinking if you ever open up a restaurant in Las Vegas, you can't call it Giada,
Giada. No,
but you
because
can
they're
call
too
it Valenti, so that do it that way.
I will probably call, I don't know, I will be calling something else. I would call it, I do a lot of sign language. I don't know, do you remember during COVID? So even at the Smith Center, there is always a friend of mine doing some signing. I have some deaf people sometimes they come to my concert. So deaf people, they always trying to figure it out a way to call you with a sign that is shorter. So they call me Jiva, which is the first letter of G, Giada, and Valenti. So, and it's very easy to sign. So I may call my restaurant Jiva.
Yes, I like that. And just make it very, very exclusive, 4 tables, and you behind in the kitchen making all those dishes. I think it could work.
While I'm cooking, when the moon hits your eyes, Bye. And all together, that's some more. There we go. There's an idea. Thank you, Ira.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want 10%. I always come up with ideas, but what am I going to do? And JJ can handle the billing and the booking and the taking the reservations.
She's great with that. They're
Yeah.
German. They're
So you've performed in a couple of places in Las Vegas, but the Smith Center for you, I think, is the perfect venue because of the acoustics and the staging. And I've been there, obviously, and I talk it up a lot because a lot of my guests perform at the Smith Center. There's Reynolds Hall, and then there's Myron's. And Myron's Cabaret just has that wonderful, intimate feel, and you can really connect with the audience, and the sound is always great.
They have the Kevins, as everybody called, the Kevin Hart and the two guys that in the sound on stage and off stage. It's spectacular, the venue. And listen, I got to perform at Carnegie Hall, which the acoustic of Carnegie Hall are spectacular, but the sound system is not even close to the Smith Center. And when I meet people from Las Vegas, they have never been to the Smith Center. I'm like, it's like when you meet people in New York City that never saw the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, you have to go. This is just like something people come from other parts of the world to see the place, and you have it there. So I will invite and to see my show of any show at the Smith Center, and also the Reynolds Halls, which I'm very proud to say they told me that was inspired, the big room, by the La Fenice Theater in Venice. I'm Venetian, so I'm very proud. And actually it's much bigger than the La Fenice Theater, but it has the same shape. It's like an embrace. I'm always saying the acoustic are out of this world.
And people who are listening and watching us from around the world, if they come to Las Vegas, they really should get a chance, especially while you're performing there, again, May 24th. But even if they miss you, just to come in and see the Smith Center, take a tour and try to catch a performance there, because just the experience is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's new. I mean, they built it, like, what was it, a couple of years or 7, 8, 9, 10 years?
Well, it's more like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah. So before my time.
I was there at the opening, and if you watch the PBS special, I did there's a freeze frame. Well, they didn't do a freeze frame. I took a shot of the screen while it was airing because I could find us in the audience. So we have that as a little historical marker, so to speak.
And I'm looking at you at the video, but I'm sure people said, why is she looking down? Because you are there. But is this the way that I'm looking at the camera?
Yes, right there is where you're looking at me. That's perfect. Yes. No, you're a lot better than most people. Most people, I've had a few people look off into the distance to the right or to the left. They're not quite sure where the camera on.
I was looking at you because your face is below, but now I said, hey, maybe I should look at.
No. Either way works fine, because where I am, I'm close enough to where my camera is, so you look like you're looking at me. So don't worry about it. Don't force it. No, you're fine.
Okay.
And I look like I'm looking at you, and I'm also looking at other things too. What stock prices and the news. No, I'm not. I just.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm concentrating on you. I only do this.
No. We are polite people, ladies and gentlemen, watching.
Exactly.
We are talking to. Yeah.
Exactly right. Are you going to, how many, without getting into long numbers or anything like that, but in terms of when you set up your song inventory, I guess song list would be better than inventory for the show, and you're going to perform some of your original material, how do you work that out percentage-wise? Is it 10% of the total performance, or it doesn't really matter to you? It's just so it's in the mix along with country and all the other genres.
I mean, because you want to people that come to the show to give them something they are familiar with, even though they come there for me and they love me. But there is always a few people that come there because they hope to listen to their favorite song. So in my original song, they're new, so they don't know. So this particular show, I think I will be doing 2 or 3 originals, and all the rest are those iconic songs that everybody knows. And I try to create I work together with a musical director called Chris Slush. He's a young musical director here in town. He's very talented, and he's always trying to push me to have more because I am a storyteller, so I tend to love ballads and songs that really tell stories in a very melodic and slow way. And Chris is always say, hey, let's it's just, yeah, you're right, Chris. So we always have this discussion. So we always try to balance the show with some high tempo. So we're going to have Light My Fire. We're opening, actually, I can tell you, we're opening like big. We open with Light My Fire with a very rocky version that you cannot even imagine. And then have you ever seen the rain? So we stay up there. People that come to my concert all the time is going to be like, where is our Giada, the one that's because my idea was to open with a tender opening, actually, and Chris was like, no, let's go, like we go big and then we go small again, so go big or go home, right? So he's stretching me to try new things. So who knows if it would be like and every show is different. But so this time I opened the show in a different way that I normally do. Normally, I like to go on stage because let's be honest. The first song, this was somebody in New York I took lesson with called Vicky Stewart. It was a famous. She's from England, and she was my teacher for stage director for a few years. She said, you should realize that the first two songs, people are looking, oh, that's the way she look. Oh, she changed the hair. Look at the makeup. Oh, have you seen that? This is what they're thinking. So she said, you don't put your most beautiful song there because they're not even caring what you're singing. They're just you. And she was right because you see the people are so and they look then they go to the musicians if they hear, oh look, oh at the piano this time she doesn't have the guy. And look, so she said the two songs are just like, they will pass through them like and so she's right. So I'm gonna do like two up tempo so people is gonna be like, whoa, what's going on? And
Well,
then
not only was she right, but Chris was right too.
yeah, Chris is definitely right.
Yeah.
Chris he has a lot of faith in me. He always said, you want to be put in a box like the singer of the ballads, the sings of the storytelling. I always think I'm much more than that because I'm very lively. So he's always stretches me to do more songs that people may not expect from me. Like he had also for this show, he had some suggestion. I said, and he was like, he'd say, I'm sure you, and probably I could pull it through. I mean, I wanted to do I Will Always Love You, Dolly Parton. She's one of my idol between me and you, Ira. I adore Dolly Parton. Is one of the person that I admire the most. So, but for me, Dolly was that song and all the ballads that she had written from here to the moon and back. I don't know. And Chris was like, no, you have to do the coat of many colors, Jolene, just rock it. So I said, convinced me to go for Jolene, Jolene. Okay. My first choice would have been like, I Will Always Love You. I think it's so no, and I'm sure some of my fans, some of them are traveling, by the way, all the way from Europe to be at the Smith Center for the first time. They will be like, because they know me as the romantic singer. So I tell you, next time we do the interview, ask me this: how did the rock and up-tempo Giada work with the audience? And I will have my answers to you.
And the next time that you perform, I think you should have an exhibition kitchen on stage and be cooking while you're singing.
That would be an idea. But you know that after the COVID, when I was doing the Jada Live and cooking, and I got approached actually for some major televisions. They were asking me if I was interested in presenting a cooking show and have the cooking and the music and the thing. And we're still talking because I think along the line would be something that, why not, right? I mean,
Sure.
and you know what is about the good things that people appreciate about my cooking is that one of the things I say right away in the beginning, remember my grandparents and about being humble, I say to everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a singer. I am a singer. If I cook, you can do better. So and that's it. I know I can cook pretty well, but I mean, I'm not a chef by any mean. I cook simple food, healthy food. With my grandmother used to say, if a recipe has more than 4 ingredients, which doesn't count salt and oil,
Sure.
not a recipe, it's just a mess. So all my recipe have 4 ingredients and maybe some olive oil and some salt or sugar if it's a sultry recipe. And very, I mean, I'm a singer, so I don't want to spend 3 days in the kitchen. I rather be writing a song. So everything I make is made from scratch and fast. So yeah.
That's a great way to leave it. My guest has been Giada Valenti, performing in Myron's at the Smith Center this Wednesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. For ticket information, go to thesmithcenter.com, and for everything about Giada, go to giadavalenti.com, and you can follow her on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And Giada, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Ira, and see you soon. And this is a sign for the deaf people. That means I love you. I love you.
See you next time.
See you next time.